Greetings, humans and Gugu-Gee-ans. We are driving into Chicago this episode. I tried to take a commuter train, but I got there too late, and I guess the schedule for the trains slows way down after rush hour. So I was going to be waiting for quite a while to get a train, so I just decided to drive in. And I'm going to park, and actually it's not going to be that expensive, I believe. So we're on our way. It should be fun. Welcome to the show.
Get out of here to where the weather is clear. We'll take some coffee and some bread.
Okay, so we have to remember where we're parked here at Millennium Park Garage. And let's head out. Welcome to Chicago. I decided to park at Millennium Park Garage, which has a little bit of a tricky entrance on South Columbus Drive, which travels along the side of Millennium Park. You have to enter a ramp and then go subterranean. The Art Institute of Chicago is here. Millennium Park was once a railroad and parking area and only opened as a beautiful park 19 years ago in July of 2004. Now, it's an iconic Chicago destination. I walked first through Lurie Garden, which is a 3-acre botanical garden here in the heart of Millennium Park, and then headed toward the J. Pritzker Pavilion, which, as you see, is a futuristic-looking band shell. Behind it is the Harris Theater for Music and Dance. Well, it looks like the big mirror ball is under construction. It's closed off. So, that's too bad, but, you know, plenty of other great things to see, and we will see them. Under construction. But there were more delights for the eyes to come, including Millennium Monument, described online as imposing columns and a circular fountain. Right across the street from the park, at the Chicago Cultural Center, is the famous Tiffany Dome. The Cultural Center is free to enter, so why not? There's some sort of event going on at this Tiffany roof. But we're going to see if we can at least see a little of it. What kind of event? Hopefully not one like this event. This is the movie The Untouchables, and in this scene, which was actually filmed under the Tiffany Dome, Al Capone is teaching a lesson about teamwork. And one might say, sort of failing miserably at inspiring the team in any kind of positive way going forward. Well, I suppose the intention was to fill them with abject terror. Talk about hostile working environments. Anyway, a beautiful spot to see here, and it's free, as I said. I next headed west on Washington Street. So much fun to walk under the elevated trains. This one was at Washington and Wabash. So if you are thinking this statue looks a little bit like a Picasso, then you're absolutely right, because this statue was indeed commissioned from Pablo Picasso in the mid-60s to live here in Dealey Plaza. And the statue was, at the time, as I understand it, a little bit controversial because it was not exactly as staid and stoic as most public art of the period. But now, of course, it is an absolute treasure to the city. While the piece cost $350,000 to construct and was financed by charitable foundations, Picasso himself refused to take any money for the planning of the piece. He gave it to the city of Chicago as a gift. But what a fun delight just to be walking along and boom, there's suddenly something monumental like this on the street right in front of you. Pretty great. It's starting to sprinkle a little bit. I have a raincoat in my Jeep, and I brought the Jeep into the city, so it's no excuse. I'm just forgetful about these things. I think we'll be okay. I kept on my route, walking west towards the river, but I went 1 block south to West Madison, passing by the Civic Opera House building, which was quite lovely. The next thing I did was totally on a whim. I spied with my little eyes a water taxi station across the river just over the Lyric Opera Bridge. So we're taking a water taxi. It's going to take us eventually to the Wrigley building. I'm not sure. I don't think we're going that direction right now. I think we're going away from that. But maybe we circle around. By the way, it was like $3 to go to the Wrigley building. I find transportation seems cheaper, more reasonable than like in New York. Feels like to me anyway. Oh wow. People kayaking. No, I was wrong. We are going the correct direction. We must have turned around, or I was turned around. But yeah, it looks like we're going the right way. I thought you could walk the whole river walk, but it looks like there must be certain portions that you can walk. Like some portions, like say over there, for example. You're just not going to be able to get by there on the river level. There's a place where you can just walk along for a while. Where did that start, I wonder? It's definitely at State Street. You could get along a walking path. I'm so glad I did this, you know. I was thinking of just walking it, which would have been fun too, but then I saw the water taxi, and I thought, oh, let me just go ask. And I asked. They don't go all the way to the Navy Pier, which is where I'm going to, but they go to the Wrigley building. Looks like this is our stop here, maybe. So here's our taxi right here. spectacular Wrigley building is named after a chewing gum magnate. Yes, Wrigley's Chewing Gum. It is an amazing looking building that was finished in 1924. And you can see it's really two buildings, and the second tower was commissioned very soon after the completion of the first building. It's rather odd to note that the bridge between the two towers, added in 1931, was constructed to link two bank offices in order to comply with laws concerning branch banking. For some odd reason, the offices had to be joined. If you see nothing else in Chicago, come to DuSable Bridge to imbibe this area. It's breathtaking and epic. Just from where I got off of the water taxi, there's sort of a place where all the tour boats leave. There's a couple of bars there, and then there's some public restrooms there, but you need a code, and it's not clear how you get the code. Well, I found out. You just go up to one of the bars and you ask them how you get the code, and they give it to you. So if you need a restroom, that's how you get it. The Chicago bridges do all rise up to allow tall boat traffic to pass through at pre-scheduled times. Next, Navy Pier, which is free to enter, by the way. So we crossed over again. I crossed over from the water taxi to see that other side. Now I'm crossing over again back to where the water taxi side is. And I think that's the same side as the Navy Pier. Navy Pier dates all the way back to 1916, but it was reopened in 1995. It keeps growing and changing and evolving, and for example, in 2016, it welcomed 9.3 million visitors. Chicago Pier so far is basically a mall. Like, kind of a cool mall, I gotta say, like with some different things that you don't normally see. And there's a children's museum too, and it's closed right now. Looks like that would be fun for kids, and maybe for big kids. It's not terribly late. It's 4:33 on a weekday. It's on a Thursday, so I guess everything closes around 4 or so. Okay, here we go. This is interesting. So I thought there would be more of this, like sort of looking out to sea with the bigger boats. That's where we came from. Big Ferris wheel. Chicago Shakespeare Theater. Ooh, that's cool. And you can also go on various cruises into the lake, which depart from the pier. So a lot of this stuff seems closed right now. Maybe this is kind of a weekend spot. It's Thursday afternoon. Rainy day. So it's a bit of a walk to get to the end of the pier, but here's the payoff, that you get this beautiful shot of the city. The iconic 70s TV show, The Bob Newhart Show, was set in Chicago, and this delightfully humorous life-size statue of Bob Newhart on the sofa, where perhaps you can sit and get a little therapy, can be found towards the end of the pier. You can also see wonderful views here of Chicago looking west and a little bit south. And if you round the jutting Pier Peninsula, you can also see views looking west and a little bit north. That is Centennial Ferris Wheel, which soars 200 feet in the air and offers amazing views of the Chicago skyline and Lake Michigan.
They have a number of these types of things where you're walking along street level and all of a sudden it's like sort of an underground passage, and you might see stairs that'll go up to another level for walking. So there's people walking above us, but you can also walk below, but it's just not that scenic really. Let's try going up top and see what we see. Oh, much more pleasant up here. Nathan Hale. Didn't live too long.
One thing you cannot miss while in Chicago is deep dish pizza. And I was very excited to go to Lou Malnati's Pizzeria, which was back over close to the Wrigley building. I walked there. I was by myself, so I got in pretty quickly when I agreed to sit at the bar. And the pizza was delicious.
And we're coming out, and it's nighttime. Purple. Beautiful color.
The very special illumination of the buildings here was just so gorgeous. It's very magical in this area of the city.
So we're back over by the Wrigley building again, which is where the pizza place was, just around the corner. And this is just a beautiful area right here by this bridge. Or sprinkly evening rather. It's not too bad though. We're going to try to do one last thing before we head out this evening. We're going to go try to see the Buckingham Fountain in Grant Park. It looks really, really cool. So that's the last thing. Well, we might have to get a Chicago-style hot dog on the way out of town too. Closed off for some reason. I don't know, maybe they close it. Maybe they close at night. Yeah, I believe this is Grant Park, and just beyond us is the fountain that we're searching for. The Buckingham Fountain. But it doesn't seem to be closed. Seems open. There's a street right there. We're just right by the street.
It wasn't such a bad walk, and I felt very safe the whole time, I have to say. I'm reading now from ChicagoParkDistrict.com. An important Chicago art patron and philanthropist, Kate Sturgis Buckingham, 1858 to 1937, was the last member of the Buckingham family. Originally from Zanesville, Ohio, the Buckingham family made its fortune in grain elevators, real estate, and steel. Kate and her brother Clarence Buckingham, 1854 to 1913, were both avid art collectors and benefactors who donated valuable prints, paintings, sculptures, and objects to the Art Institute of Chicago. In the mid-1920s, Kate Buckingham decided to provide funds for a magnificent fountain in Grant Park as a memorial to her brother. During the planning phases, Kate Buckingham expressed that she wanted the fountain's lighting to emulate soft moonlight.
Chicago is a cool city. So I think I'm going to end up walking about 8.5 miles today. So it's a good city to walk in, and I got my steps in.
Okay, now it's time for the final stop here before heading back to the hotel. Portillo's. According to the company literature, Portillo's is known for their famous Chicago-style hot dogs, Italian beef sandwiches, chopped salad, cheese fries, homemade chocolate cake, and chocolate cake shake. The Chicago-style hot dog starts with mustard, relish, onions, 2 tomato slices, a pickle, and 2 peppers. No ketchup. Now completely satiated in my stomach and in my brain, it was time to drive back to my hotel for the night, which was at the Fontana Village Inn in Fontana on Geneva Lake in Wisconsin. I chose that area because it was very close to a commuter stop into Chicago, and I imagined myself traveling by train, but I should have checked the schedules more closely because really the frequency of the train slows way down when it's not rush hour. However, Fontana on Geneva is really beautiful. In fact, Wisconsin in general is gorgeous, and I was very sorry that I didn't allow myself more time to have some Wisconsin adventures. But I was swiftly on to South Dakota, according to the schedule. My day at Mount Rushmore is coming in a video soon. Hope you enjoyed today's adventure in Chicago, and I will see you in 2 weeks. By the way, very quickly, if you like the show, consider Buy Me a Coffee to help support the show. Buy Me a Coffee is a great way for creators and artists to accept one-time support or membership ongoing from their fans for the price of a coffee. Go to buymeacoffee.com/BrainFire to help the show. Thank you.
Get out of here to where the weather is clear. We'll take some coffee and some bagels and get out of here to where the weather is clear.